Not, I got paid, now I gotta go. I got paid, I better go shopping. I got paid, I better go buy this, that, or the other. I got paid, I could take this weekend off. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Araujo. Today's subject is this: delayed gratification. So when we start talking about the term delayed gratification, what exactly does that mean? Well, to me, delayed gratification is being able to delay certain things that you want in order to reach the big picture, right? It's the big picture idea here. And I think oftentimes what we do is the reason we don't have what we want is because we're constantly looking to soothe ourselves, to satisfy certain cravings, to satisfy certain emotions, certain thoughts immediately. And I'm going to tell you something. The most successful people on this planet have delayed gratification. They're not looking for the quick fix or the quick euphoria of being able to just satisfy those cravings. And when I started thinking today I dropped off my daughter, and she was a little nervous, right? First day of school has come and gone. No big deal. That's not what she was nervous about. What she was nervous about was today is high school tryouts for volleyball. High school tryouts. And even though she was a little nervous, there was a sense of confidence that I got from her. She knew that she's done the work. She's put in the reps for many, many years. She's been playing since she's 7 years old. She's 14 now, going to be turning 15. 7 years old, and she's been playing club volleyball for 9 years. Since she was 9 years old. And club is more of a competitive sport, right? And it gets me thinking about delayed satisfaction or gratification. Delayed gratification, because there was many times during her journey, okay, where she's now in the conversation of potentially, here guys, she's in the conversation of potentially making the varsity team as a freshman. Is she going to make it? I don't know. Does she have a really good chance? Absolutely. She has the reps behind her. But I remember during this journey, right, as we put her into sports, how many birthday parties she missed, how many invitations to gatherings she missed. And there was always this thing of gratification. She could have taken the instant gratification and said, I don't need to go to practice today. She could have taken the instant gratification and say, well, I can miss this game. But she understood that there was a bigger picture to what she wanted. We've always embedded that in her, right? Of just getting better. And being in a conversation now where she has a strong probability and a possibility of making the varsity team. But she had to give up the instant gratification. Even though it would have satisfied her cravings at the time, she would have never seen the consequences beyond that. And that's where I come in as a parent, where I remind her about her commitments. Because for all of us, all humans, we don't see the true pleasures of delayed gratification. And we also don't see the sheer consequences of delayed pain. We're constantly working on the go of what am I going to feel instantly. And sometimes that's why we're in this situation where we go to a restaurant, we say, you know what, I'm going to eat healthy today. I'm going to watch what I do. I'm going to watch what I eat because I want to lose this weight. But within minutes, they bring out a big plate of bread. And in the first 30 seconds, we can say, no, that's not for me. Next thing you know, we take a small piece of that, right? Because we want to satisfy that craving, and yet we can't correlate that to the delayed consequence, which is you're not going to meet your overall goal. But at that moment, when that temptation is put in front of us, we go for a small bit of that bread. Next thing you know, we go for the full slice. And then next thing you know, the whole basket is gone. I can't tell you how many times I've been in that situation. So what do I do now? No bread, please. I don't want the temptation in front of me. And that because I understand the consequences long term. And every successful person that understands the consequences long term and understands the gratification long term is able to delay all that for themselves, is able to go ahead and live through the pain. The pain is like, man, I really want that bread. And understand that when they get the body that they want, the energy and vitality that they have in the future, it all makes sense to be able to say no to that. But it's tough. It's tough. And we see this pattern also within agents of looking forward so much to this paycheck, this one paycheck that's coming through, that as soon as we get it, we start spending it as if it was a requirement, like if it was to satisfy or to soothe the pain of getting this deal through escrow. I used to do that a lot. I used to work my ass off, right? And instead of staying in that pain to saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and invest for something greater in the future, I wanted to spend it. It's funny. I look at my closet of stuff that I bought 5-7 years ago. Some real expensive shoes, belts, like clothes, suits. But that was my way to get that instant gratification. I look at it now, I'm like, what was I thinking? What was I thinking spending all that money on ridiculous items? Carla will tell you the same thing. The purses, right? Like, really, a purse? $5,000, $7,000? But that's the way to soothe the instant pains. As opposed to sitting in there and say, why must I soothe this pain? Is there something about what I'm doing that I don't like that I have to now soothe it to make it feel better by spending on ridiculous items? Why must I go ahead and go on a vacation at the moment I close something? See, I couldn't stay in that pain long enough to discover my dysfunctional patterns. I couldn't. I just wanted to soothe the pain and get that instant gratification of all the hard work that I've been through. The reality is, my business was a mess. I was working my ass ragged, but I couldn't identify that. Because as soon as I got paid, let's go shopping. That was my way to soothe the pain. Let's go on a vacation. That was my way to soothe the pain. I wanted that instant gratification. I couldn't delay it. I needed to show people how successful I was right now. So I had like 4 cars with only 2 licenses. It's only me and Carla. Why? Because I truly didn't like what I did. And as opposed to building the systems and processes so that I could enjoy my business a little more, I went for the instant gratification. Now, I couldn't correlate the two. I didn't correlate the two for many, many years afterwards. But there was a reason. There was a reason I couldn't contain myself. I didn't want to look at the real picture. I couldn't see something greater for myself. So I found the pleasure in spending it as opposed to just sitting in the pain. And this is a pattern that we get from childhood. This is not something that I went through as an adult. My parents, as soon as I was in pain, they were there to soothe it. So now I am conditioned. When I feel the pain of hard work, I want to automatically soothe it. When you feel the pains of stress, different people find ways to soothe it. Through sedation, through eating, through different things. Addictions of all sorts. Gambling. Even sexual addictions. But we want the immediate satisfaction. We had a situation just last week. My daughter comes home, my youngest, my 10-year-old, comes home just bawling about how she's not in the same class with her best friend, about how it's not fair that all her friends are in one class and she's in another. Bawling. Well, there was a couple parents that thought, well, it's up to them to bring it up to the school district. That why isn't their kids in the same class? We had an administrator call Carla last week and say, hey, listen, we were thinking about changing these groups of people because they didn't want to feel the pain of parents complaining. They didn't want to feel the pain, and the parents didn't want to feel the pain of their kids crying. So they wanted to give them that instant satisfaction. What do you think that does to them as adults? They feel entitled. And then they reach a point as adults when they don't get what they want and they just stop in their tracks and can't figure out what to do next. Carla and I were on the same page. We said absolutely not. There's a reason this occurred this way. They're becoming dependent on each other, these best friends. If you give in to them now, what's going to happen in 2 years from now? Or when they go into high school 3 to 4 years from now? Then they're going to have it in their mind that when they complain enough, they're going to get what they want. All they're going for is the instant satisfaction. They don't see that making new friends, being in new environments alone is the greater reward. Delayed gratification. Just because the parents didn't want to hear their kids crying, and just because the administrators at the school didn't want to have parents upset. So we cater. Guess what? We have to feel the pains. So trust me, we've been conditioned since we were young. And then as adults, we're trying to figure it out. We're like, why? Instead, large majority of the population is depressed, riddled with anxiety, because the real world is not what it was when we were young. And we don't have that self-control to say, I'm going to feel the pain right now because there's something greater in the future. So we told the administrators, no, we're going to leave it as is. I don't care how much we complain or others complain, our daughters complain. We're going to leave it as is. And sure enough, they agreed. I asked my daughter on Friday, hey, how's school going? She says, awesome, Dad. I met some new kids that came to our school. And she started telling me about these new girls that are now in her school. She would have missed that opportunity. She would have been dependent just on a best friend or a couple of best friends, not seeing the world for what it truly is, a bigger picture. That's what she would have missed if I would have soothed her pain or looked for the instant gratification of just trying to shut them up. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do as parents. We're trying to fix them so they don't cry, so they don't go through the pain, so they don't throw their tantrums, as opposed to letting them sit in that pain and understand that the world's not always going to give you what you want. And when it doesn't, you figure out a different alternative, a different path, a different way to handle it. She says, I'm glad I didn't get to move classes, Dad. But she couldn't see that at the very beginning. As a matter of fact, Carla and I were villains in that situation. And some of you fall under that pressure at the instant you start getting paid. And then you start wondering why your business is not growing, because at the moment you get paid, you want to go out of town. At the moment you get paid, you want to go spend frivolously. You want to go spend that like if it was always going to be that way because of the pressures of our kids, the pressures of our spouse, and maybe the guilt of not being able to provide that the entire time. That's a temporary Band-Aid because you haven't built a business enough to be able to duplicate that over and over and over again. And all you're really doing is a greater consequence to your family as opposed to seeing the bigger reward. The ups and downs. Yes, I can give you everything you want, family. Oh, this month I can't. Just because you want to satisfy the small complaints. You don't want to go through the small pains. I want you to think about that. Because you're doing a bigger disservice to your family by doing that. As opposed to saying, hey, listen, I'm going to continue to work my ass off. I'm going to continue to reinvest in my business. This is a small-term reward. But it doesn't mean that I have to now feel accomplished. Let's hold off on the vacation this year. Let's hold off on the things that you want to buy for the next 6 months. Let's see what I can do with this business. So I don't go through this roller coaster of I can provide everything for you and then next month that I can't. You have to live in that pain. A reward doesn't always have to come about just because you accomplish something. You don't have to go out and spend it just because you don't want your kids to complain. Just because your wife feels that or husband feels like it's time to leave out of town. But this takes communication. And this also takes seeing the bigger picture, not the short-term gratification. And I see this time and time again. And some of you are like, hey, are you speaking to me? Maybe I am. I'm just speaking in generalities. But I need you to see yourself in this place because it is a greater disservice to you, I promise you, to your confidence, to your kids. Communication. I get it. We all want to live large. We all want to take those great vacations. We've worked hard. You worked really hard. But I need you to take it a step back and and ask yourself, why do you have to be in this place all the time of satisfying a craving or satisfying a thought or a satisfaction through a vacation? Why? What is it about your business that you hate so much? We all work hard. And what I'm saying, if you want to build something great, there's going to have to be some sacrifices, short-term pain that we live in. Ask the successful people. Someone will tell you, I didn't take a vacation for 5 years. They'll tell you the same thing, 10 years. I haven't taken a vacation to this point. I mean, you'll hear the different stories because they're willing to live through the short-term pains for the long-term gratification. Not, I got paid, now I got to go. I got paid, I better go shopping. I got paid, I better go buy this, that, or the other. I got paid, I could take this weekend off. Peaks and valleys. That's what you'll get. And I promise you, if you take the route of being in the pain for the short term, communicate that with your family and your kids. 5 years from now, it becomes a different game. The vacations are grander. The time away is not to avoid the pains, but a way to really celebrate the successes. And that's why you got to ask yourself, am I doing these things just to soothe the pain, or am I really celebrating the successes? And if you have a business of peaks and valleys, how do you consider is to soothe the pain? We hear this term, you got to work hard and play hard. Work hard means there's a lot of pain involved with that. There's a lot of sacrifice. But play hard, what does that mean? It's to soothe the pain. How about you just work hard? How about you just keep doing that day after day, year after year, and see where you end up? Not for the short-term satisfaction, but for the long-term gratification of knowing you've built the right systems and the right processes, that you don't have to go out and soothe the pain immediately. And it's a conditioning process that'll take many years because we got to unravel the habits that we've built throughout these years. But the game becomes so much greater when you're able to see the bigger picture. The tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank, the systems and the processes in your business, the predictability of your lead sources. But it takes understanding that the instant gratification will not give you the long-term satisfaction. It just won't. Just like that bread that I talked to you about earlier. Feels good at the moment, but is it getting you closer to what you want? And here's the thing. It's going to take continued sacrifice. There were friends, friends would always invite us to go do things. And, those things wouldn't be in alignment with what we wanted long term. So we noticed that after a while, they stopped asking. After a while, they just stopped hanging out. And I wouldn't change anything about that experience, not whatsoever. Because right now, I'm living a life that I only imagined a few years ago. Where I have the space, I have the finances, I have the passion and the fire. Because I kept my eye on the prize. I kept looking for the bigger picture. Not the short-term goal of just going out and hanging out, partying. And just leaving for the weekend when I have so much responsibility. And it hurts. I mean, sometimes I question myself, like, dude, our friend pool is like just me and Carla. It really is. And sometimes we want to, give up on the long-term goal to satisfy those small cravings, those instant cravings, that instant gratification, satisfaction. And if I would have, I don't think I would be in this place right now. I'm not saying I arrived by any means, but I'm seeing just everything about my life just swelling, like it's just continuing to expand. And it feels so good because I was able to live through the short-term pains and also the sacrifices that comes along with it. My kids are not happier or less happy just because we didn't do the things that they wanted to do all summer long. They're not. They're kids. Of course they're going to want certain things. They want to eat candy all day long. Doesn't mean that if I take that away, they're going to be unhappy. They might be unhappy for the moment, but it doesn't make me a bad parent if I don't give them what they want. And it won't make you a bad person if you just delay certain things and communicate that and say, right now it's about building. It's about building, not about celebrating. Not yet, not right now. The market is too good. You could take advantage of it. And you'll reap the benefits of all this for years to come if you do it right. So look at the delayed gratification. Look at the big picture. And where are you constantly going to soothe the pain? Going for that instant satisfaction and instant gratification. All right. What are you guys hearing in this conversation? I want to go over and say good morning to everyone. Go ahead and scroll all the way up. Are we able to? We can't. So if you checked in earlier, I just can't see your name. I see Michelle here, Claudia, Lonnie, good morning. Nick, Cindy, Teresa. What are you guys getting out of this? Good morning, David. Good morning, Armando. Hi, Ardra. Rosie, good morning. Susan, good morning. Patrick, Kaylin, Claudia. My friends and family are always telling me to take a break, a vacation, because I've been closing deals. But they don't know that building a business takes years, not months. It really does. And you'll get some results in the months. It doesn't mean that you've built the business. And I'm glad you're able to see that. And it's so hard to say no to family and friends. It's so difficult, right? Because, as friends, especially parents, they are looking out for our best interest, right? In a way of you're working too hard. You should probably take it easy. You should relax a little more. But there's greater consequences if you don't go after what you want. There's greater consequences to your family at a later point when you abandon it just because you're giving in to these invitations or these temptations, because that's exactly what they are. And that's why, like I said, my friend and family pool has gone down to very minimal, right? Where we don't get those invitations often. And it's okay. And it sucks sometimes, right? As I see them hanging out on Facebook and we're not there. We weren't even invited. But I get it, right? We said no so many times. And honestly, I would probably say no again. But I will never give up what I have right now for all the pains that I went through, all these sacrifices. And it's only getting better. Like I said, it's only swelling with opportunity. So in your attempts to satisfy that short-term craving, I want you to ask yourself, do you feel like you're swelling with opportunity? And if you're not, you're going to have to put that aside right now and stay in that pain of having just to go through the processes of building a business. So if you don't get that internal feeling that things are swelling with opportunity, as you want to go out and do certain things with the paychecks you just got, maybe it's time to take a step back and just say, hey, listen, okay, maybe I feel the pains of trying to build a system and a process to my business, as opposed to just escaping and feeling like I've arrived. Because there's something greater for you, and you know that. Stay in that pain right now. Stay in that pain. Carmela, good morning. Wendy, what are you guys getting from this? What does it mean to you? And if you really think about it, we all have our own examples, and I want you to be aware of it. If you were here for our sales meeting on Thursday, it's like, be aware of your journey. And this is just another example of where you need to be aware of your behaviors and patterns. Because if you're going through a peak and valley of a business, there's something there that you must identify. There's something there that you're running away from and just trying to soothe the short-term pain. Teresa, this is why I'm trying to get things done each morning. I feel accomplished each and every day so I can take time in the evening. I don't think I'm doing the short-term cravings, for I plan my face-to-face times, lunches, and coffees with my past clients. So I'm continuing to build my business, but not getting out as well. Good. So the pain is like having to do these videos that the short-term pain would be like, I don't want to do them. Like when you quit, that's also soothing the pain, right? When you refuse to get up, like when you say, I'm going to get up early tomorrow morning and you don't, you just satisfied that pain by sleeping in. So Teresa, you're able to say, okay, I'm going to go through the pain of doing these things in the morning so that I can now create space later on that evening. And that's a great plan. But if you give up on that short-term, pain by saying, today's not a good day to do it, then you're going to feel out of integrity later on as you're trying to create that space in the evening. So the process must be, I'm going to continue to do this so I can reap the reward. Cindy, I believe every person's life scenarios are unique. Not all plans and systems work the same. I use the delayed gratification in many ways, and then in other situations, I weigh the long-term possible outcome and decide if delayed gratification is the route or not. We need to think before we act, decide on actions in our lives, not react. Absolutely. That's becoming aware, right? If I do this, will it get me what I want in the future, yes or no? And then we outweigh it. We make a decision based on that, not on an impulse, not on a breadbasket coming right before us. Right? And giving up on all our convictions at that moment. Such a great point. Eric, train yourself to crave the pain. The pain is not bad. Sometimes we just have to sit in there. Because there are things there that it'll tell us. We never create big things when we're necessarily feeling good. We're usually celebrating when we're feeling good. It's the pains that we learn the most from. It's the pains where we truly test ourselves and understand what we're truly made of. So if we sit in that pain as opposed to soothing it, you'll discover more about yourself than you realize. At least that's what's happened with me and the people that I know. Sit in that pain. And I often wonder why all these, triathletes specifically, like a lot of these guys are well off, CEOs of companies, right? CEOs and just very successful individuals, business owners, entrepreneurs, they dive into these pains to find out a little bit more about themselves. Because the short-term gratification would be, hey, I'm just going to celebrate all my successes. But they understand that they must live in the pain to see something greater for themselves. So the pain is not always meant to debilitate you. As in fact, it's not meant to debilitate you. It's meant to build you, period. That's where it ends. It's meant to build you. But we try to avoid it. We avoid the pains by making decisions, by buying things, by getting away when we shouldn't. What is the real reason why we want to instantly soothe the pain? That's the real question. Wendy, I went out last Saturday and I kept thinking of all what I had to do the next day and that I will be super tired. I was almost uncomfortable being out, yeah. But I only said yes because I felt guilty. Always saying no to my brother and sister. Yes, man. Dude, that is so hard to say that to family, especially people you love. It's hard to saying that to your mom. My mom would make me feel guilty. You got to be here. The family's here. I don't want to show up without my kids. It was so hard. But this is the same person that was able to buy her house and the car that she drives. And the car my mother-in-law drives. I was able to do that because I was unwilling to go for the short-term satisfaction of satisfying somebody else's needs, really. But this is a learning experience for you, Wendy. When you go out, when things are abundant, when your bank account is swelling with money, it's a different game. There is no guilt at that point. So the next time that happens, it's going to be, I'm sorry, I'm building right now. And the next time you go out, you end up paying for the entire thing because you're in that place. So giving up on those short-term satisfaction, the outcomes are much greater. Such a great point. Such a small, it feels like it's a meaningless point, but that's so on point with what you said, Wendy. A simple just going out. As a matter of fact, you really didn't even have that much fun because you were constantly thinking about all the things you had to do. There was that guilt in there. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Mindset Master. And as always, it's just reflecting on our own behaviors, our own patterns, because you have all the answers to getting what you want. My job is to remind you, to give you a different perspective and apply it to your own life. And simply ask yourself, where in your life are you going through that right now? Not through my experiences, not through what my daughter is going through or what I'm going through. I'm just trying to trigger memories in your life because you're probably doing it right now. Then I just need you to analyze it and discover why you do certain things and why you stop doing others. That's the game right now, learning more about yourself. And those questions we asked in our sales meeting just a few days ago is just the beginning point of something greater and grander for yourself. So thank you again for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone.